Let's see. Are we live? Testing, testing, testing. I hope I'm streaming on the right channel. Am I? Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Hayes, and in today's in today's live stream, we'll be. Oh, why am I acting as if I'm doing a different live stream? So today's live stream is a continuation of the previous live stream I did last week, which is using the Sync API and MQTT to power my virtual building. Um, so if you didn't watch the first part of this live stream, I would advise you to watch the first part of this live stream. Well, the second part, before I get started, I'm going to like give you a summary of what the first part of this live stream is all about. What I eventually covered in the first part of the live stream, and yeah, the second part of this live stream would be me eventually completing what I'm building, like powering my virtual buildings. So let's get started. So firstly, let me give you a quick summary of what I eventually like did in the first um, part of this live stream. Right, the first thing in the first part of this live stream, I eventually was writing out my CKPI document where I was writing out whatever it is I needed for my server, right? So I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna show you what my CKPI document looks like and walk you guys through every single aspect of the document. Sharing my screen. I hope the restroom doesn't, you know, fuck up today. I hope you guys can see my screen. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Okay. I hope it's better this way. I hope it is more visible. Okay. I hope it is. Can we just zoom in one more time? Okay. So as you can see, I have my AsyncAPI document where basically just writing out what I want my server should be. So firstly, you can see I have the AsyncAPI version I'm using. I'm using the version 2.4.0. And I have this object here that says info, which is basically the information about my information about. Oh, I'm having internet issues. Are you kidding? Okay, so I have my info object, which basically holds all the information about application, which says which have a title of building MQTT, which is a title. I have the description. I have the license, of course, and yeah, and the server actually has another section which is development, because right now this is virtually a development server, and it has a URL which is test the mosquito test URL, because we are using MQTT as our protocol. As you can see, it is specified here that we are using MQTT as a protocol. We also have the description, which the description which eventually says mosquito broker for development, could be anything. We have also the variables, not gonna go in depth. Yeah, we have the next section, which is channels. So we have the first channel, which is unit balance requester, which basically from the description you can see this topic publishes an event demanding building units balance. Which takes a subscribe. So first thing, I think in my previous in the first part of the section, I got confused a lot about if this is published, this is subscribe, when to use publish and when to use subscribe. So I'm currently working on I'm currently working on the so I'm currently working on a short video to eventually explain the whole concept of publish and subscribe in the sync API. And so we have subscribe. So when you are writing your sync API document and you are kind of confused, should this be a publish? Should this be a subscribe? So basically, you should be looking from the view of the application, or let me just say, you should be looking from the view of the client. So whoever will be communicating with your application, you should be looking from that perspective to determine if your application is subscribed or it is published, right? So I have subscribed here in this unit balance requester simply because my application, right, my clients or my buildings will eventually subscribe to this channel, right, to receive the message or to receive an event that says I'm requesting for your balance, right? So that is why we have subscribed. So in the previous video, I was putting publish, in which I eventually like correct. So I was putting publish because I felt, okay, my application should be publishing, right? But because my server is publishing a message, right, that says you need balance requester, but it should be subscribed because whoever is reading my document has to subscribe to this particular channel to receive the message that says, oh, you need to give me your balance, right? So that's why we have subscribe. And you can see in the summary, it says this triggers a request action for each building about the balance, right? So we have the operation ID, we have the message, and you can see the message is actually a reference to this component object we have here, in which we have the messages like balance request and message name and different summary of what we're trying to like achieve. We have two messages actually. We have light balance requester and we have light measured. Not gonna go in depth. So at the end of this stream, I'm going to like share a link to the source code. So if you want to like go through the source code later, so that's basically the unit balance requester. We have another channel. We have another channel which is unit balance responder, and you can see this is a publish. This is a publish. This is a publish, right? Instead of a subscribe, like we have subscribe here, we have a publish here simply because our client would have to like publish a message to this application, because from the name it says unit balance responder, which you might feel, oh, should that be a subscribe? Eventually it will be a publish because we want our application, or sorry, we want our client to eventually like publish a message whenever they receive a request, whenever they receive a message from the unit balance requester. So whenever our application requests a balance and our client is subscribed to this particular channel called unit balance requester, we also want them to give us the remaining balance they have, right? Which means each building have to like publish a message with the remaining balance, right? We also have another channel called unit balance updater, which basically means once our application receives the remaining balance from each buildings, right, we do some logic behind the scene, which eventually updates the remaining balance of each building, right? So which is a subscribe, right? So once the application does the whole magic behind the scene and updates the current balance of each building, right, it has to like publish. It has to send the remaining balance back to each building, which eventually means each building has to be subscribed to this particular channel. So that we have the subscribe stuff here. So basically, one more time, once you're confused about when to use publish and subscribe, you should be looking at it from the angle of the client, right? So just like in Open API, when we have your schema written out and we have get request, we have push request, we have put on another kind of HTTP request. When you have a get request, right, you're not basically saying your server is doing the get request, right? You're basically saying the client who will be consuming the information from your server would have to make a get request to this particular endpoint. So the same thing goes with AsyncAPI. So whenever you see a subscribe, whenever you see a subscribe, a subscribe action, right, in the specification, you already know, oh, when I have a subscribe, which basically means so my client would have to like subscribe to my application. So you have to start looking at it from the angle of whoever is consuming or whoever is interacting with your application. So those are the three channels we have. We have the unit balance requester, we have the unit balance responder, we also have the unit balance of data, right, which is this, as I said earlier. So that is the three channels we have for our application. And yeah, we have a couple of components which I've gone through. Messages too. We have two messages. We have the light balance requester. We have the light balance like measured, right? And you can see each also has some payload, right? You can see for the light balance requester, we really have a string as the type of payload we are, using. And we have on the light measured message component, you can see we have not just a string, we have an object, which means we are expecting an object. And this object has some properties, right? Which is a building ID, an integer, a description. Then also, so we have a building ID as a first property, and we have a unit as a second property. So the building ID type is an integer. I think it should be an integer, not a number. So type also. So an integer. So yeah, so we have those two properties for the light measured. So in order to make this much more fun, so I'm gonna copy the code of this document, and I'm gonna use one of the amazing tools AsyncAPI has in its ecosystem, which is the AsyncAPI Studio, which gives you so much capability, right? From previewing your code document in real time, interacting with it and saying what your code looks like, your specification looks like in a preview format in real time, to also like generating your code, right? Generating code from your AsyncAPI document also in real time, which makes so much sense. So, but we are not going to be generating our code from the studio, but we are going to be using the studio to see what our AsyncAPI document looks like. So I'm gonna open up Studio. Studio is loading. So while Studio loads, okay, yeah, Studio is here. I'm not converting. Okay, I'm gonna share this my screen for the studio. Okay, let's bring this out. Why am I having? Okay, so I'm sharing my screen for studio. How do I stop sharing? Okay. Now I have my studio brought up. So this is the AsyncAPI Studio. Okay, I need to make this bigger. So this is the AsyncAPI Studio. Now I would have to, replace this with my AsyncAPI document. And you can see immediately I pasted this document in the studio. You can see I have a real-time preview of what my document is all about, right? And you can see we have the title, we have the description, we have the servers, and you can see it also say the URL variables, which I can expand, and you can see all the things I've like spoke about when I was explaining the document for you guys. I can see we have the operations, we have the subscribe operation, which means unit balance requester, which eventually tells you subscribe. So if you want to use our application to have access to this particular operation, you have to subscribe. And you can say it has a well documented way to preview our specification. And yeah, so that's basically one of the things the AsyncAPI Studio can do for you. Makes so much sense. And yeah, so I'm going to like stop sharing the studio and go back to VS Code, where we'd have to like generate the code from our AsyncAPI document using the AsyncAPI code generator. So using the AsyncAPI code generator, Okay, I need to share my screen. Okay. I don't know why I can share multiple screens on your stream. I feel that should be a thing, right? No, sharing multiple screens. So you can just like switch from one screen to another. So what we have to do now is to generate our code using the code generator. So we'll be generating a Node.js code. So and we'll be oh so sorry. We'll be using the AsyncAPI generator to generate our Node.js code. And in order to do that, I'll be using the AsyncAPI generator, which firstly, before you can use it, you have to like install it. I already have it installed. So I will just go ahead and just generate the code, right? So I've just paste the code and walk you guys through it. So we have this called AG, which is AsyncAPI generator. I already have it installed. If you don't have it installed, you have to install it using the npm install global as a global package. AD, and I have to like specify the path to my API file, which is eventually in my current folder. So AsyncAPI.yaml. Yeah, so I'm specifying I want to use the AsyncAPI Node.js template here on pod and server. So we have our server is development. We don't have, as you can see here, we don't have a production server. We have a development server. The output. So we want the code to sit in the server folder. And now, so we already have the code that will eventually generate our Node.js code from this API specification. So I'm going to click on enter, and I hope this works. Okay, so I have to commit my changes. I'm going to open an issue for this, right? So that because if you don't commit your changes, you would eventually get an error before you can generate. So let's hope this works well. Okay. So while we wait for this, right? I feel I'm confident to eventually do more of live streams like this, which eventually just will be me, doing some project examples using a sync API and whatever protocol I feel like using from Kafka to RabbitMQ to what sort of protocols out there, just doing a live stream, having fun, and eventually maybe if I see someone that wants to join me in the live stream, we could eventually do it together, right? It's fun. I'm like learning and making mistakes on this live stream. My internet is shitty, so it's taking much more time as expected. And that reminds me, I have to, open. I already open an issue, right? So maybe I could open a pull request for that also myself, because when you're generating your code, I feel there should be an activity loader that tells you your code is generating instead of just looking at the dummy screen and wondering is my internet shitty or what. And you can say we it was successful. We see we have this done with some couple of stars that says our shining project has been generated. As you can see, we have a new folder called server, which is here, right? So what we are gonna do is change the directory to server and install the packages. Yeah, npm install just to install the necessary packages for our application. So we have so we have these packages. So we're gonna run we're gonna start the server to ensure everything, works. As you can see, we have a package of JSON that says we just have to like do npm start to get our server like running, right? Let's say let's do npm start. Yeah, it works. So we have our server running, right? Because as you can see, okay, let's make this bigger. Yeah, so we have our server running. As you can see, we have some messages on the console, which the first one says the publish detail, subscribe, publish. And now I'm gonna something different, right? So because if you look at the AI channels like the AsyncAPI specification, the document we wrote right for our server, you can say unit balance requester. We we said subscribe, right? When we generated our code and we started the server, unit balance requester says publish. Isn't that confusing, right? Why should it be published in the console and in the specification in the document it is subscribed, right? What changed? So, like the way I explained to you guys earlier, that the document is basically a reference in which it is a document that will tell whoever is consuming your whoever is communicating with your server what they would have to do to like communicate with the server successfully, right? Which means which I said before, universal requester is actually publishing, like it's publishing a message, but from the server, but that doesn't mean the client should be publishing, right? So whenever our server is publishing a message, it means our client would have to like subscribe to receive the message. And this is what's happening here. So in the documents, we are saying whoever will be communicating with our application, right, or our server would have to subscribe to receive whatever message is coming to this unit balance requester. So which eventually means to our server we are publishing, which is why we have publisher. Right, the document, the AsyncAPI document is just going to be what the client or whoever be interacting with the application will be reading to give them a sense of understanding how to communicate with your application. So don't get confused. We have published here, we have subscribed here. This is basically just telling whether will be consuming your application or whether we're communicating with your application would have to like subscribe to receive this message. But in your server, we are publishing, right? So I'm gonna create a short video on how I said it earlier, how pops up works in the API to clear some hair. Because even me sometimes I get confused. And you can see it says our building MQTT API version 1 is ready and MQTT adapter is connected. So which means we are going into the right direction, right? The first big thing is working. So the second thing I'm gonna do is also like start the client. And so if you haven't watched the first part of this live stream, so you wouldn't see our virtual building. So I'm gonna split this console, this terminal. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to client. So we cd to client. And I can do like npm I feel yeah, npm start. Yeah, I'm gonna start the client. So I for some reason I have to like change my npm use 0. Yeah, so I'm starting in server again. Um successfully started server. So I'm gonna show you how the virtual building looks like, what we are trying to like achieve. So right. So eventually, this is what we are trying to like achieve, right? This is our virtual building. As you can see in our building, we don't have any light where it's dark. What we're trying to do is just to power these buildings, right? And we already have our server up and running. And what we have to do now is to start communicating with our server, right? In order to like power this building. So I'm gonna stop sharing and yeah, so I'm gonna go to the share the code, go back to VS Code, right? And we start doing some magic. Yeah, so we need to start doing some magic on VS Code, right? The first thing we have to do in order to communicate with our server, because our server is eventually like using MQTT, and as far as I know, you can't like use MQTT on the browser except you serve your MQTT over WebSocket, which is what we'll be doing. So in order to do that, let's close a couple of tabs. Okay, so we are now like trying to like work on the client. Yeah, so just ignore these codes. This is just some React 3 stuff that I use for um, React 3 stuff for the client, for the buildings. So what we are trying to do actually is to power the buildings, right? So I feel the first thing we have to do is to install a package called React Power MQTT, which is a really nice a really nice library to like help you use MQTT over WebSocket, right? So we're going to do that. I'm going to stop my server, right? My client right now. So what I have to do just npm install React Power MQTT. Oh, I'm going to type it. Oh. So what's happening? Why do I have to force it? What's happening? npm install React Power. Okay, I've like forcing, so hey, force. Awesome. So we have this library installed. Now, once we have our library installed, we have to like start using the library. And the first thing we are gonna do in order to start using this library is to import it, right? Of course, we have to like import the library. So I'm gonna say import as MQTT from React Power. Yeah, Power MQTT. So I'm gonna share a link to this library just in case you want to give it a try. Let me see if I can get a link. Oh, yeah. Yep. Hey, this is gonna be the link, and yeah, I'm sharing the link. Chart. So this is the name of the package I'm using, just in case you want to give it a try. It's called React Paho. Yeah, so we have our package imported, right? So the first thing we have to do, according to the documentation of the library, is to start importing it, right? So start using it rather. So the first thing I want to do is like initialize the package itself. So I'm just going to create, say, let's say cons init is going to be a function, right? We initialize package. Um, how do we have this auto suggest? So now we have this function. So how do we like initialize this package? So we do this by saying let's create another this variable called let's say, what can we call it? Let's just call it. I'm terrible at naming, so let's just call it C, right? Const C is equals. Um, oh, I missed something. So let's say say is equal to MQTT dot connect, right? Connect. We're trying to like connect to MQTT broker. So from the library, we have to like first pass the URL. Which is, as you can see, we are using the test mosquito URL. So test mosquito.org. Yeah, so the next thing we have to do is specify the port and I don't think the port, well, let's just say is a port 881 just from the documentation. The ID, the unique identifier of that we are using. So let's just say MQTT. It's basically what the doc says. So if you are wondering what I'm doing, you can go to the docs, React Power docs for reference. Yeah, so we are told to like pass two additional functions, which is on connection lost, and message arrive. Right. So we already have this. So this is basically what we're trying to do. But now we have to trigger this, right? So I'm gonna create some. Oh, what am I? Oh no, power is out. Yeah. So I'm back. So sorry guys. There was a power outage, and yeah, I got the backup up as fast as I could. Yeah. So with no further ado, let me continue sharing my screen. What is happening? Yeah, so as I was doing earlier before the power went out, yeah, so I was putting these in the wrong place. It should be inside our app, not this place. So correcting my mistake. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so we put it in the right place, and what we have to do next is actually what's this, guys? So what we have to do next, based on documentation, is actually try to trigger. No, firstly, we have these functions, right? On connection loss, on connection arrive, that we haven't created these functions. So we have to create these functions and see what they actually do. So based on the documentation, this on connection loss is when client lost connection, right? So we have to like create these const on connection lost. Lost to the function. arrow function. So it says it takes a response object, a response argument, response object as an argument. Then it has some code. It says if response object dot error code is not equal to zero, then let's just do some console log, right? So so this is gonna console the error message, right? So this is strictly from the documentation, right? So I think in order to make this fast, I'm just gonna copy most of the code for the docs. I think yeah. So we have this on collection loss function. So we have to create another one for whenever the message arrive, right? Then we have to also create another function because on message arrive, message arrived. So it takes an argument of message. Message and yeah, so the first thing we want to do is try because there are different topics, right? So we have to like know when a message is coming. So we have to like know which topic the message is coming from, right? So because based on our specification, based on our AsyncAPI file, which is here, so we are going to be expecting a message from unit balance requester because we are subscribing and unit balance of data. So which means we are going to like have we are going to be expecting we're going to be expecting two messages from two topics, right? So from two channels. So which is what we are going to do. We have to like specify that. So in order to do that, let's just create an array to like hold the topics, right? So let's just say let's create a new constant, which is going to be called, let's say, topic. So from the topic, we have the first one where we'll be expecting a message from, which is called unit balance requester. Copy this. Yeah, so we're gonna do the second one also, which is called unit balance of data. Yeah, so we have these two topics already like defined. And what we are gonna do now is so we can use those topics here on message arrive. So whenever a message arrives, we already know which topic each a particular message is coming from, right? So the first thing we want to do is also say if so we have this auto suggestion. So I think we're just gonna use it. Oh, okay, sorry. Accept. So we say if message dot topic is equals to the so we're not gonna say message dot topic because whenever a message is coming, okay, firstly, we shouldn't just start writing the whole code. Let's say what happens when a message arrives, right? So let's console.log the message, right? So whenever a message arrives, we want to see what the message is, right? So which means we want to publish, we're gonna use the server to like publish a message, right? So let's console.log. So we have to like we haven't initialized this yet. So we have to like initialize it immediately our app loads. So I'm gonna be using the use effects function. This the use effect hooks. Um, use effects. So I'm just gonna initialize. So we should work like this. I feel so. We're going to let's save our application. And let's try to like publish a message from the server. So we have our server up and running already, right? And let's go to the server. So we have this code generated for us from the server. And what I want to do is um, go to the API index.js in the API file. So, and the crazy part about this is, as you can see, in my server, I wasn't setting up a mosquito, like I wasn't like connecting to a mosquito broker. I wasn't doing all sort of things related to MQTT, right? Because I don't even need to know so much about MQTT in order to like use the MQTT broker, right? Which is something which is really, really fun. And that's one of the powerful things this KPI offers, like the generator. It generates the whole code for you. All you just have to like focus on is your business logic, right? And isn't that fun? That's like really fun, right? And what I'm gonna do now is to send a message from my broker, right? And in order to do that, I'm going to um, send a message, right? And let's send a message from my broker. I have to. What can I do? How can I like trigger the first message? Okay, let's send a message. Like we're gonna send a message every few seconds, right? To see if we receive the message in our client. So what I'm gonna do here is do a setting table for our API. So I'm gonna do a setting table. I want to send message every few seconds. So we're gonna say, so let's say every 1 second. 1 second, we want to like send a message. So let's say content. We're gonna make this random. Random. Let's just send it to random number. Then I'm gonna do app.send. I'm going to send a message. So it takes three argument, right? Because it's API, the generator uses MS. So if you haven't used MS.js before, you should check out the library to say how it works. So what I'm gonna do now is to, because the app.send eventually like takes three argument. So the first one has to be the request ID, which is what I did here. And I'm gonna just pass the request ID. Doesn't say request. What the ID is going to be the request of the ID. And this is going to be an empty payload, because so this particular second argument is going to, the second data has to be the headers, right? So we don't have any headers for now. So I could either use undefined or just pass an empty object. Then the next thing you want to do is the channel, the topic, right? So we want to publish a message to, because from our it's by specification, we are publishing to unit balance requester and unit balance updater, right? So you can see it here, publish and publish. So, but right now we are going to like use the unit balance requester on topic. Unit balance. Yeah, so I'm having fun so far. So you might be wondering, why am I doing a certain interval, right? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep this our um application as easy as possible to like to build. And what I was trying to do is I want our server to eventually publish a message, like to publish a message every few seconds, right? To request for the current balance, right? So for every few seconds, our application or our server like request for the current balance of each buildings, right? Once each building sends their balance, we do some business logic, we update it. So we reduce the current balance by one, right? So and we send the updated version. So every few seconds, we want to like receive the current balance, make a tiny update, and send the remaining balance to them. So which is what I'm doing here. So I'm going to be I want our server to like request for the balance every few seconds. So let's make it every 2 seconds. So 1 second. So I'm gonna save this and see if we receive something from the client. So I have this saved. I'm gonna start the client. Okay. What? What's this? Saying React Power countries of React Power MQTT. Did I say Power MQTT? Okay, we have an error. Something's going on. Let's see. Cannot find module Power MQTT. What does that mean? It's just installed it. Hmm. Let's see. We have it installed, right? React Power MQTT. So what's happening? Yeah, we have our first big error. Trying to see what we are doing wrong. Oh, isn't it docs as a reference, right? So we import let's React Power MQTT, which is fine. And we have this to initialize, which says QTT. Oh, I think we have to like um, do this because we haven't like initialized these. We haven't called, so we have these initialized, but we also like create this constant which does this empty does connect. So we have to like hold the state of whatever we are having, right? So what I'm gonna do is create a state. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna take client. I'm gonna do set client. I believe that's the issue. I'm gonna use state. Um, no, right? No. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do here is to set client as the data here. And yeah, once we do that, it is supposed to work right out of the box. But let's hope on connect. Ah, okay. We're missing one more thing from the docs, which is another function to actually trigger this. So we're gonna do this const on connect. So, so whenever the client is connected successfully, client dot connect. So I made some of the stuff from the docs. So we connect to be true. X is true. Yeah. So on success, like if the connection is successful, we want to do. I can't believe I made some of this part of the docs. Just rolling. I was already so excited to see the first the first example like working. Want to see something on the console. I was celebrating too early. So on success, we have a function. So let's just copy what we have from the docs, which is a loop. Basically, it says format. It says it's a for loop, right? says if you have a topic, we have a topic like topic.length, so we are going to like subscribe to each topic. So I think that was what I was missing. And if I didn't like do this particular part, I'm eventually sure how am I gonna receive messages, right? So no way I'm gonna receive messages. So we have to like trigger this on connect function, which basically connect the client and subscribe to each topics we provided here, which is the unit balance requester and the unit balance of data, right? Now we have to like trigger this client dot on connect. So what I'm gonna do is I could use this same use effect, right? I don't have to like create another one. Okay, now I have to create another one because whenever the clients change, I want to do something. So if there's a state change in the client, say client, we want to like trigger this on connect, right? If there's client, if there's client, then we'll call this on connect function. So we have this initial I use like this one that I eventually like triggers this MTC broker, which is this function here. So we also have this MQTT.connect, which is gonna hold the client. The client eventually holds the data from this constant here. But now, once we have the whole broker connected, right? We also want to like check for some external stuff, right? Some additional stuff, which is this on connect, right? If we have this, if the state of the client, if the client has some data or it has a state change, so I'm pretty sure the client has some extra argument. Which one of them is this dot connect, right? So once it connects, try to reconnect for some reasons. So on success. So if the connection is successful, we want to subscribe to all the list of topics we have here, which is the unit balance requester and the unit balance of data. So I'm gonna save these and I hope it works. Oh god, I'm so praying. I hope it works. Okay. I'm gonna save this and start. I don't know. Please work, please work. Oh no. Why am I having this error? Modus rack power. Okay, now we have to Google. I have no idea why this is failing. I I have this installed. Okay. Okay, I have everything I was told to do. And message arrive and connection lost. We have our first big error, right? No, this has something to do with the library. And topics. Oh, am I using topics? Topics. A topic. Okay, that's not the error. Hmm. We are stuck. We are stuck. We are stuck. Why are we stuck? Right? It's crazy. Okay, still to make code a bit larger. Okay, is it big enough? Oh, we stuck. So we're gonna Google to see what's the error is. Uh, okay. Six models. Can't resolve Power MQTT. Why? Was it not was it not installed? Don't get. Let's see. What? This is crazy, guys. So I'm using this library called React Power MQTT, which is using the Power MQTT, right? And in the package.json, it isn't there. Isn't that weird? Jeez, this is fucking weird. Okay, let's see. So I need to install Power MQTT to see if we would be lucky enough to make it work. Uh, npm install Power MQTT. No, why should we install Power MQTT? It's not supposed to be pre-installed with the library we are using. Yeah. So let's try our luck and then start. Please don't break. Please work. Please work. Oh, it works. Oh, amazing. Right. So for some reason, because I didn't install Power MQTT, which is weird, right? If you are using React Power MQTT, which is I feel is basically based on the Power MQTT library, it's not supposed to like be pre-installed. Why do we have to like install React Power MQTT then install Power MQTT? That's weird. I feel that's weird. Yes, it works. So let's see. Um, let's see. What am I supposed to do now? Okay, I'm gonna close these tabs because I don't need them. So we have disconnected, right? But is it connected? So let's see if we have some errors in the browser. What's good connection to et2man/mqc failed? Why? Let's see. Why did it fail? So let's restart our server to see if we can get lucky. As you can see, so when we start our server, you can see the MQTT adapter is connected, right? And we are publishing messages, right? We are already publishing messages. It is working. Every few seconds, we publish a message. And now we're trying to see if our clients can actually receive the message. I really hope so. Topic is not defined. Okay. Let's see. What is happening? Come on. Okay. We stuck here again. We have another issue. On connection lost. What do you mean topic is not defined? We defined the topic. I see. Topics, not topic. How can I miss that? Okay, now we have a bigger error. Finally, it works. So I'm going to share my screen. I have multiple browsers. This is weird. Okay. I'm going to share my browser so we can see we are actually like receiving messages in our clients, right? So, uh, virtual houses. As you can see in our console.log in our browser, we are receiving the messages that is being published from the server, which is great, like amazing. And you can see every 2 seconds a new message is being received. And you can open the message and you can see it has a lot of payload, it has destination name, duplicates, so we topic. So it is amazing. So this is what we are actually expecting, right? The first big thing, which is the second big thing, which is receiving the messages. So I really wish Restream can make me switch from one tab to another without closing it. Now we have this, we are receiving the messages, right, in our browser, which is amazing. So we can close it. So since we are receiving messages in our browser, so what we are now is our start passing power to this virtual building. So let's go back to VS Code. Going to VS Code. Um, yeah. So we are back in VS Code. So we have to like stop our client, our server from publishing messages. So what we want to do now is this. So we have all these connection working perfectly on message arrive. So that was how we got those messages in the console, right? We say on message arrive console.log the message. So we have the message, right? But now what we want to do now is to being able to like separate these messages, right? So because we have to, as you can see, we have two topics we are subscribed to, the unit balance requester and the unit balance updater. So since we have these two topics, what we want to do is now to separate these messages so we can know which topic so we can know which topic which message belongs to. So what we're gonna do now is this. So we're gonna remove this console, right? And we're gonna say if message dot destination name, say the destination name is equal topic at index 0. So what I'm trying to say is if this message or destination name is equal to this topic, right? Unit balance requester, we are going to console.log the message, right? So we're going to do console.log message dot payload string. The object, right? Um, so and also we're gonna copy this and paste it. But this time, if it is the second message, which is the unit balance updater, we are going to like also like console.log the message, right? But now I'm pretty sure if we start the server again and go to the browser, we are eventually going to see the message that is related to the first channel because we are currently just listening to this. We are only publishing message to this particular channel, which is unit balance requester, right? So we're gonna do this. We're gonna save this, right? So the log from we already know how it works, so I'm not going to like repeat myself by going back to the browser again. So now we have this message unseparated, right? But what we have to do now is um, what we have to do now is set the request type. We have to like take it one by one, right? The first message is the first channel we are listening to is a unit balance requester, right? Now we have to create a state, right, that holds all this data, right? So we have to create a state that holds these requests, but we have to create a state that holds this balance requester, right? Balance request rather. So let's say let's just call it requester. And let's say set requester. We're gonna say use state. Well, use your state. That's what we're gonna say now. Because we're not skipping anything at the moment. So what I wanna do now is we have this. So we're gonna also go on for the second channel, which is updater. Data set updater. State of null. Oh, I'm out of water. Oh boy. So now we have these two states, which is the one for the balance requester and one for the balance updater. So what we're gonna do now is set this state, right? So whatever message we receive from this particular channel or this topic, we want to keep it, right? So we're gonna say set requester to message dot payload string. And this other one is going to be set updater to message dot. But now this wouldn't be a payload string in my opinion. Okay, it's still gonna be a payload string. So let's just keep it a payload string. So we have these two stuff, but now we have these two states. So how do we use those states, like those data we've kept, right? So the first thing we have to do is, as you can see, we have three houses, right? With different, which is just three houses. But what we want to do now is, because each houses has to have its particular balance, right? Default by default. So we have to like have these default units for each balance. So let's just for each house rather. So let's say units. The first house has 100 units left by default. The second house would have, let's say, 80 units left by default. And the third house would have, let's say, 50 units left by default, right? And we have these three houses with different units. And as you can see, in this place where we do the houses, so we have each house is mapped, so that was how we have like three houses, right? So what we're gonna do now is go to each houses and start like doing the magic there, right? So the first thing we want to do, because requester is passed this as a props, requester would be star and update star would be updater. So we are passing these props, this state here as a props to each building, right? So they can have access to that. So what we're gonna do now is one more thing. So right now we are going to like we are already like receiving the messages, right? But we don't have the capacity to like send messages, right? So we are not going to be sending the message, right? We're not going to send a message yet. So let's just say how we can use the balance request and message you are receiving first, right? So we're gonna go to the save this and go to each building. So each building. Oh, so I think I missed one thing, which is just a quick one. Which is the mesh, because I have to like pass light to each houses. Yeah, I don't think it's there already. So what I want to do now is go to each house component. Oh god, I need water. Give me a few seconds. I need to grab water. So just hold on. Yeah, I'm back. So I got out of water and I was dehydrated as fuck. You know, open source is life as water is to life also. So I hope you got that. So what I'm doing now is I have to like go to each building because I already like pass each requester. So whenever there's a request for the balance, each house already has access to it, right? So I'm gonna go to the house components. Let's go to the house components now. Now this is the house components. Ignore the existing code that is related to the 3JS. Let's just focus on the important aspect, which is the units and the light. So did I pass units? Oh, just map mesh for each house's units. Oh, so I need to pass the unit of each buildings. I'm sorry. Also as a props house units. Now each house has its own. So why sorry why I did this is eventually because I don't want to like copy and paste each houses create three houses with different positions. So that was why I just had to like use a single house component and just like add numbers to just make it more than one, right? So we have the house component has access to the units. So we're gonna save this and in the house sorry now this is the house component, right? Which has a couple of props, right? It has the units as the props units. It has a requester, and it also has it has a requester, and it also has an updater. So, so as you can see, just to confirm, it has the requester, it has the units, requester, unit, and updater as props, right? Now, which is fine. So what we want to do now is see, let's console.log the units just to ensure it has its units. So let's say from the browser, I'm not gonna be. So let's me confirm if it's receiving, if it is consoling. Yeah, it's consoling, so it's working fine. So what I'm gonna do now is this. So since we have this, and so since we have this, we have each requester. So whenever a building like request for whenever each houses receives a request message, which says a unit balance request message, we want to do something, which is we want to do something. So what we want to do is this. So whenever the building receives a request message, we are expecting the building to send the current balance of each sorry, we are expecting each houses to send the current units they have left, right? So which means the client with the houses now have to like publish a message. So which is what we're gonna do now is we have to like specify. So we're gonna use a use effect, right? Let's just go down here. So what I want to do now is this. I'm gonna say let's just comment it out like whenever you receive a so receive a what? Receive a balance request. Yeah, so let's say the use effect. So and requester. That's what I'm saying. Whenever we notice a state change in the requester, right? So when I say if there is a requester, do something. So we want to do something. So what we want to do is whenever there's a requester, we want to send a message. So we want to publish a message. And in the message we are trying to like publish is a current balance each building has left, right? So what I have to do is just say, um, in order to we have to like publish a message, right? So we don't have that yet. We don't have the capability to like publish a message, which is weird, right? So which means we have to like be able to like publish a message. So what we're gonna do now is create a publish message function also. So which is eventually like saying send payload, right? So in order to do that, we need to go back to our app.js and create it here. Let's just create it here. So let's create a function called let's say send payload. Send payload. So that send payload, we have to like it takes two argument, which is the channel, right? The channel you are sending a payload to, right? And the message, the payload you are sending, right? So channel data, or just say just say payload. So the message you're sending the payload, right? And yeah, so what we're trying to do now, we have a function now, then we have to like say, let's just call this message, the message you're sending. And now what we are doing now is just say constant call payload, and we have to because yeah, so we have this constant payload. Now we have to use what is in the we already have the MQTT package that we are using, MQTT.parse payload, as you can see. So if you don't know what I'm doing here or how I'm doing it, it's eventually just you can just check out the um React Power MQTT documentation just for reference, right? So in order to send a message, we have to like specify a few things, right? So which is MQTT.payload. The first argument, as you can see here, is we have to specify the channel, then the message. Now we have our payload, right? So what we want to do now, then we have to do client.send payload. Payload. So if you might be wondering where this client coming from, don't forget we have this client state here, which is basically just holding the whole data from the MQTT. So which means we have access to the .send function in MQTT, right? So we can just do client.send. So we are doing client.send the payload, right? Now, what we are going to do next is eventually, because we want each building to have access to this send function here. So we're going to have like we have to pass it. We are going to pass it as a props, right, to each building. So we're going to add an additional props, which is send payload. Send payload. Then we're going to say send payload is equal to send payload. Now we already have these parts as the props. Now we know each building already has access to these props. Now we're just going to like bring it in and say send payload, right? So we have it brought in already. Now what I want to do is this. So whenever each building or each house receives a request message, just like we saw the other time, we want to send the data, like we want to send the payload, we want to send the remaining data we have left. So we want to send the remaining units we have less. So what we're going to do now is to just do exactly what I just said. So if there's a new request message, right? So we want to send the payload. We're going to say send payload because we already have access to the to what we are sending, right? And the channel we are sending it to from the Sync API file, Sync API document, as you can see, the one we publish from our channels is unit balance responder. As you can see, it has a publish action, which means we can publish to this place. So we are going to be publishing there. Let's just copy the name of the channel. Um, and just put it there. So that's the name of the channel, right? Unit balancing. The next argument is just the message, right? The message we are trying to send. But now, if you notice this, right, in the message component of unit balance responder, like measured, you see, we are not sending a string. We are sending an object from the payload, right? So the message payload type is an object. So we are sending an object, which consists of the building ID and the unit remaining. So we have to do just that, right? So we are sending an object, which is where we are sending an object, building ID, building ID. Are we correct? Yeah, building ID of each building ID and the unit left, which is unit, of course, because we have access to it. Now, this is what we are sending. So I believe we are basically done. So we should be able to like test what we have so far, right? So let's save this. I need to drink water to this. Okay, let me see if I have any message on the channel, on the chat. So yeah, yo man, can you make code a bit larger? Yes, I did. Mukash. And we have another person that says 100% true. Where did this passion start? I have no idea what you're talking about, but yeah, I feel it's something cool. Yeah, so what we have to do now is we have our code saved. We want to test it out to make sure like what we have is working so far. So let me start both the server and the client. So before I start the server and the client, since we are sending a message from the client to ours, oh sorry, since we are sending a message from the client to the server, so which eventually means we are sending a message to unit balance responder. We're publishing a message there. So we have to see from the server, maybe we are receiving the message, right? So we have to go to the server. Then we go to handlers, unit balance responder. And let's console.log our message to see if we receive a message. Right? I hope that works. So we're gonna start the server, and we're gonna start this client also. So let's hope everything works. So you can say this server is publishing a message, and the client just broke. What happened? Error. So let's see what happened. ID of undefined. So we have an error. ID is not defined. Oh yeah, ID wasn't defined. So I didn't pass ID as a props. I did. Oh, I didn't import it. So ID is missing. Yeah, let's save it and try it again. So let's start the server one more time and hope everything works. An error occurred. Jesus. Why can't you just go well? So let's see what the error is. Invalid arguments. Okay, so it seems I can't send an object here. So I'm gonna do stringify this object. Right. I hope it works. Like, I really hope. Yeah, so let's try it again. Let's see. I'm hoping. Please work. Yeah, it works. It works. You can say it works. Amazing. Because now we are receiving the message, right? So I'm gonna stop this server. Wow, I look so excited to say it work. I'm like, no, demos always go wrong. But this we gonna finish it. We're making sure it works. So we received a message in the terminal, as you can all see, because we console the message. So we have some Hermes message, right? This is amazing. So what we're gonna do is we are going to so we have these tons of message we don't need. What we eventually need from this message object is this payload. As you can see, this payload. So I'm gonna console.log the payload, message.payload, and try it again. So let's start our server one more time. Yeah, it's working. It's working. Amazing. So, which means immediately we publish a message from our server to the client that says, I request you to give me your current unit balance. Then the client also responds by sending the unit balance to the server. As you can see, this is the response we get. Bidding 0 has 100, bidding 1 has 80, and bidding 2 has 50, which is amazing. Exactly what we are going for, exactly what we are looking for. So we already have what we are looking for. So what we have to do now is, since we are receiving the messages, right? We request for the unit balance. The unit balance was sent to us. What we want to do now is do some business logic. And it is amazing because as you can see, with the help of the generator, I wasn't doing so much on the server side, right? Because I have the code generator to me. What I was just doing was just handling the business logic, right? So because what I'm handling is the business logic, what I'm going to do now is, whenever I receive a balance from the client, what did I want to do, right? What I basically want to do is just reduce the balance, right? Just reduce it somehow. So in order to reduce the balance, like my business logic, eventually, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to reduce one anytime I receive something. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say, where the const called new message, because I want to manipulate the message, right? So let's say new message equals to message.payload. Payload, right? So what I want to do is, if there is a new message, eventually there would be. If there is a new message, right? No, I think there would eventually be a new message. What I should be doing is, if new message dot units, right, is greater than 0, which means if that particular building still has some units left, what I'm gonna do is reduce the current unit, right? So what I'm gonna do is new message dot units would be equals to new message. I could just, yeah, because the new message units -1. So that's what I want to do. I want to reduce one. I want to move one from the message. Whenever I receive a new message, a new balance from each buildings, I would. So I'm saying, whenever I receive a new balance from each building, and whatever message I receive from the balance, or whatever balance I receive from the buildings, if the balance is still greater than 0, then I want to remove one. That's basically what I'm doing, right? So I'm going to console.log the new message to see what happens. Uh, so let's save this and see what we receive. So our client is still running, so we're just more concerned about the server. npm start. Yeah, it's working, right? So this is it. As you can see, the initial message, the initial unit was 100, 80, from the first building is 100, from the second building is 80, from the third building is 50. But now, once when the client, oh sorry, when the client actually like sends a message to the server saying, "Oh, this is my new balance," right? The business logic is being triggered, which you can see here that the first building unit went from 100 to 99. The second went from 80 to 79. The third one from 50 to 49, which means it's working, right? Our business logic is working. But one more thing we want to do is this. So whenever we do the manipulation of the data of the unit, so what we want to do is publish the message back. We want to send the message back. And as we can see from the channels, we have a channel called unit balance of data. So this is the channel we are going to be publishing the new message to, the new unit balance to. So we are going to be doing that. So which means in the unit balance responder, so sorry. So which means what we are going to do now is send a message back, right? What I'm going to do is do message.reply. So I would advise you, if you want to like learn more about all these logic I'm using in message.reply, this is the message.reply comes with the message update, the message object I'm receiving, right? So message.reply, which is basically the same thing as what I was doing here with app.send, right? So message.reply, I send the new message first, the new message, the header, I don't have an header, so I'm going to say undefined, and the channel I'm publishing the message to. So what channel am I publishing the message to? I'm publishing the message to unit balance of data. So now I'm publishing the message. It should work. So let me save this and see if I receive the message. Okay, so let me save this. Let me start. Okay, in order for me to know if I eventually receive this message, don't forget in our app.js, we did something here, right? We have this logic here that says on message arrive. So whenever a message arrives, we want to do something, right? So we also have like when message of destination name is equals to unit balance of data, which is this topic here, we want to see. Let's say if we receive a message, let's console.log. Let's console.log message dot destination name. No, message dot payload. So we've saved this and we're going to start the server to see if we receive a message from the updater channel. npm run start. Okay, we have this started. Let's hope it works. It's working. We are not receiving a message from the client. What's happening? Okay, the server seems to be sending some message, but we are not receiving it. Okay, no, I know where this issue is coming from. So what basically happens is um, in the server, right, we have an handler in the server for updater, right? You need balance updater. So no, not in the handler, in the middlewares, right? Sorry, in the route, not middleware. So we have the route for unit balance of data, which basically I think is delaying the message to like for us to receive the message, which is weird. So we're not receiving the message because sorry, where are we? Okay, yeah. So we because we are doing the business logic here in the unit balance responder. So we are not getting the message in client because of this route, unit balance responder route, which has this next middleware. right? The reason why we have to like we're not receiving the message is because the moment this triggers the unit balance responder, right, which basically triggers the unit balance responder handler, there is an asynchronous action going on under the hood in this message's reply. So our service isn't waiting for it to finish before it sends the message, right? Before it goes to the next thing. So which means it has already moved on before we send the message to the client. So we're going to disable this next, and it should work. So I think I'm gonna extend the documentation just for the sake of this. I'm gonna open an issue for that so that others can also like see. So now we can see we are receiving the message in the client. So I'm gonna share my screen to the client, to the for the browser, and edit. No, sorry. Okay, sharing. Yeah, so as you can see from the browser, we are receiving these messages, which means we are successfully receiving the unit balance of data with newly balanced units, right? So we can say 49, 49, which means it has been updated and we are saving it. But now, one more thing, one more last thing to do is to update the unit balance and keep it as a state, right? So that we can so that the next time they balance so that the next time we are requested to send the balance we will be sending the updated balance. So I'm gonna start with the server. So let me share my VS code back. This stream is getting longer, but I like it. It's interesting. So I'm gonna share my VS code here. Yeah, so we have the VS code, and what we are gonna do now is close out some tabs. Oh, no. So we're gonna back to the app.js, the client. So we can say we are receiving this message in the console, and we are keeping this message in the states of data, which the house has access to um, of data here as a props. So let's go to the house components, right? So what we want to do now is the state of the new unit, right? So what I'm going to do is create a const, a state, right? Const of units, new units, and set new units. This state of units, right? By default, we want to have these units as a default state. So what we're gonna do now is this. Why do I have this here? Get out. Okay, so what we want to do now is update the units. What am I doing? Sorry. And I need water. Oh, water is life, guys. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is update these units with the newly updated units, right? So we are going to like come down here and do something for I don't think just for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna create another use effect. I'm not gonna use the remaining existing one. So I'm gonna create a new use effect that is just gonna keep track of the state change of data, right? Of data, which means whenever we have whenever a new message is being published to the updater, so we want to do something, right? So we're gonna say if updater. So it says if updater, we want to do something. So but the thing is, we're not just like looking for if updater. We have like be generic, right? What I'm gonna do is if updater and updater data, oh sorry, updater dot building ID, right? Is equals to the current building ID we have here, right? So the current building ID we have here, which is ID. What I'm trying to do here is if there's an updater in the message, like we don't want to like just update data. We want to update the unit balance for each specific building that is related to the particular ID. So if there's an updater and updater.building ID is equal to the current building we are in, so we are going to like update the new unit. So what I'm going to do now is set new units to updater dot units, right? So I think that's basically it. So we already set the new unit, right? But what we're gonna do now is this. In this particular place, right, we are sending units. That's the unit we are receiving as a props. We are not gonna be doing this. We are going to be sending the new units, right? Because the new unit it would hold the current state of the remaining units for each building, right? So new units. So now what I want to do is go back here and console.log message.payload one more time. Payload string. Payload string, right? So um starts use state. What? Oh, okay, use state is defined. Yeah, so we're gonna start the server again, and we are gonna say from the console what we are receiving. Okay. It isn't changing. We have an error. So let's see what the error is. We are supposed to be receiving new state changes, but we are not. Okay. Let's go to the house and see if we are updating. Say if there's updater. Let's see. Console. Let's see. Um, okay, we aren't getting to this place, which means something is missing. We are doing something wrong. So let's pick it up a bit. Try it again. Let's see if we get updater. Oh, none. None. So which means we are not getting what we are expecting to get, right? So which means this shouldn't be null. Why are we getting null? Let's see. In our app, we say set updater to be message.payload string. To be message.payload string, which means we are getting it. Then what's then setup data is setting the updater. Then why are we getting null? Let's see. You see, is it a string? Let's see. Let's do just now pass. Because we are sending a string and say again. Okay. Okay, then let's keep it as JSON.parse instead of a string. Okay. Ah, it's working. Exactly. So I think the reason why we weren't getting this before was because if we go to the house, I was sending a string, like because the addition update has been stringified from this place. So from the server. So I was trying to like do this. So when I was saying if update and updater.id, which doesn't exist because it is a string, so it wasn't working. But when I turn it back to an object, it eventually works. So let me share my browser so you can see what we're receiving. Okay, app.js. Voice browser. Okay, so I'm gonna share my browser. Okay, so as you can see, let me refresh. And the moment I start this server, we're gonna see in the console. As you can see in the console, it is changing from 99 to 98 to 97 to 96. So it just keeps going down, keeps going down, keeps going down, keeps going down, which eventually shows you the whole functionality from the client to the server is working as we expected, right? So now we have this working masterpiece. So what we want to do now is to see this, like this data we are getting, this functionality. We want to like pass it to this virtual building to power our house, right? Now what we're going to do now is stop the server and go back to VS Code eventually. VS Code. Um, Share VS Code, VS Code, VS Code, VS Code. Yeah, so going back to VS Code, what we want to do now is do some magic about light intensity. So in order to do this, we have to like create a new state called light intensity. So by default, the whole building has power, but now based on the amount of units you have left, we determine how much current you get at the power supply. So what we're gonna do now is go to the house components and come here and create a const called light intensity. We say set light intensity, right? So we're gonna do this. By default, we have to like have a default light intensity. So we're gonna say by default it is 5. We're gonna say 5. So what we want to do now is do some magic right behind the scene. But before we do the magic, let's see what happens before we start setting the light intensity. We need to like pass in this light intensity here. Oh, sorry. Where am I? Point light, point light, point. Yeah, so this point light stuff here. So we can say the intensity is 0. So let's just pass the intensity object, intensity data rather, and save it, right? If we go back to the browser, intensity is not defined. It is. Oh, light intensity, not intensity. So let's call this light intensity. And reload our browser. Yeah, it's working. So I'm gonna show you guys my browser. Share my screen another time. I'm sharing my browser. Can you see? Let me confirm. Um, yeah. So as you can see, my the buildings already have light, right? Because I had the light intensity, which means it buildings have light. But what I want to do now is based on the data payload, like based on the payload or based on the remaining units each building has left, I want to reduce the intensity of the light, right? So what I'm gonna do now is As you can see, like we have the lights. Each building is nice. So going back to VS Code, going back to VS Code. Get out. Okay. Sharing VS Code. Yeah. So we're back to VS Code, and what we want to do now is this: is use this functionality we have to control the light, right, for each building. So what we're gonna do now is we have this stage for called light intensity, right? And we have to like set it based on what we get, right? Um, so what we're doing now is this: we have to create a new use effect, right? Anytime there's a new unit, we want to like do something to the light for each buildings, right? So what we're gonna do is one last use effect. It's just one single use effect, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, use effects, this, and we do this. New units. Anytime there's a new, anytime there's a change in the units, we want to do something, right? So let's just say if new units, if new units is greater than 50, then oh okay, we don't need to be say we don't need to say greater than 50. No, let's just say if new units is like less than 50, we want to reduce the light intensity. So set light intensity to 4. No, let's do 3. You can see a real difference. Then we can then copy and just do some else if or just leave it at if. Then do a couple and say if new units is less than let's say 30, we do 2. If new units is less than 20, we'll do 1. If new unit is less than 10, we'll do 0.5. And if new unit is greater than or 0, oh, sorry. If new unit is greater than or equals to 0, it's less than or equals to 0, rather. It's less than or equals to 0, then set light intensity to be 0, right? So we have this stuff written up. So anytime there's a state change in the new unit, we want to update the light intensity. We want to control the light intensity based on the remaining units left, right? So we're gonna save this. Go to the browser. Okay, I'm gonna share my browser to see what we have now. Um, Going back to the browser, share my window browser. Yeah, now I'm sharing the browser. Now you can see we have this slide here. So what we're gonna do now is start the server. So immediately I start the server, you're gonna see how the light is being controlled, right? So I'm gonna start the server. npm run start. Server is running. You can see the light intensity of each building will start reducing. So we're gonna say, just hold on and let's just keep track of them. As you can see, the last building here by my right has less light intensity than the rest. So let's just keep looking what happens. You see, it reduces again. The one at the right reduces. So it will just keep reducing. So let's just keep watching. So you can see we are controlling this building's power with the server, right? With MQTT. And with the help of AsyncAPI, we it was working perfectly. So you can say it just keeps reducing. The one on the left is going to run out of power soon. So let's wait and see if it runs out of power. Almost out of power, right? And the one at the left, at the middle, and the one at the left still has enough power, right? So let's see till they both run out of power, right? Oh no, the one at the left is out of power. As you can see, then the rest of them are also going out of power because they every second we update the remaining units left. This is awesome. This is awesome. So it just you can say now the one at the left is almost out of power. The one at the middle still has enough power to go. So before you know it, the one at the left will eventually also run out of power. Then the remaining building with power left will be the one at the center till eventually it also runs out of power. Let's see. Oh, almost out of power. Almost out of power. Almost. It will eventually run out of power, and the remaining building would have left standing is the one at the center. And now it's out of power. You can see the building has no power anymore. The only one with power is the one at the center, which is also running out of power gradually. So let's stop the server now, which is amazing. You can say we've basically like accomplished what we the purpose of this live stream, which is to power our building and control it with a sync API, which is awesome. Isn't that awesome? Like this is also like this the inspiration from this stream actually came from the street light example of a sync API, right? And now let's add one more additional functionality or additional feature, which will be let me share my VS Code again. Yeah, so we're gonna do just one more thing, which is keeping track of the remaining units left. So what we're gonna do now is this. So just a giveaway for the sake of this live stream is to do one more thing. So I'm gonna install a package in the client. Let's stop the client. I'm gonna install a package in the client called I don't know Troika 3, right, which basically enables me to like add some text to my 3D environment, right? I'm gonna import it. Okay, sorry. npm install. I'm gonna force install it. Yeah, so we have it installed. Oh, my server back. So what I want to do now is add the remaining balance as a text so that it can be visible for us. So what I'm gonna do is this. So I'm gonna import it, the new package we just installed. Import it, import text as Troika. Now what I want to do is this. So if you are not familiar with the 3D environment, so if you want to learn more, you should check out the React 3 project. It's an amazing project. So in order to use this newly installed package, I have to do something like this: extend text, and yeah. So one more thing I have to do is based on the documentation. I just have to. I'm just gonna copy it just to make it fast. Just copy this and paste it here. Is just using so one more thing. The last thing I have to do is just add the text. Just gonna copy. I'm just copying the code. for it and put it here. It's just a text. So what I'm going to do is this. So it has a text props, which is just going to like display the remaining units we have left, which is just I'm just passing the existing units, the new unit state, and put it there. And what? So let's just save it and start the client. Okay, we have an error. Let's see what's happening. Oh, extend is not defined, so we need one more thing according to docs. Um, why is extend? Okay, we didn't import extend. Oops. Oh, not from React. React 35. So we have to one more thing we have to do is to import the fonts. So I'm just gonna copy just this is not really necessary for the sake of the live stream. I'm just like doing it just like do some fancy stuff. So I'm just gonna paste the fonts there. Paste. Yeah, so restart the client. Okay, we have some errors. It says fonts isn't defined. Ah, where are we using fonts? Ah, we're almost done. We are stuck. Okay, let's see. Font isn't defined. What do you mean? Oh, see what is happening. Okay, yeah, we didn't import fonts. The word I saying font isn't defined. So we're gonna import font. Should be good to go now. Yeah, we're good to go. So I added some extra fancy stuff. So we're going to like I'm gonna share my browser now. Share browser. So as you can see in my browser, we have some additional stuff, which is an identifier for each building that each building has the number of watts left, which I've been calling units since the number of units left, the number of watts left in each building. So if I start my server right now that we built, we're going to see how we can also like keep track of how much we have left. npm run starts, I started the server, and you can see it is amazing. Like it keeps reducing, and the more it reduces, the lesser the light intensity gets. This is amazing, and we're gonna see. Let's just keep watching before we end this live stream. Let's enjoy our little homes with power supply, being controlled with AsyncAPI and MQTT. This has been a lovely live stream. I would love to do more of this live stream. Just having fun. So we have this live stream coming to an end. We have our project up and running functionally. We have like everything is working as expected. Yeah. So as you can see, we just keep. I can't. I mean, let's just watch it for a few minutes then. Dum. So lovely. So we're gonna say very soon the first the building at the right would soon run out of power in no time. And yeah, so let's see. In a few seconds, it's out of power. boom, out of power. So I'm gonna stop the server now, and yeah, so stopping the server, going back to restream, and yeah, so this has been a lovely live stream, and we've got to like make so much errors, but at the end of the day, we eventually got these buildings up and running with electricity, with power, which is amazing, and learned so much building this project. And I'll be doing a lot of this kind of live streams where I will be using the AsyncAPI for project examples, using different protocols, different technologies to like do something amazing. And I'm pretty sure the next live stream I will be doing would be eventually Glee, which is one of them, like one of the I wouldn't say, okay, I would say one of my favorite projects in the AsyncAPI ecosystem is Glee. And yeah, I would be building um projects in Glee. I think a tic-tac-toe project using Glee and WebSocket. And yeah, so we're gonna see how that also goes. So thanks you guys for joining this live stream. If you find this helpful, if you have any comment, feel free to let me know. And don't forget to like this video if you find it helpful, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah, so that would be all for today, guys. Thanks for joining this call. See you guys later. Peace.